Namaskaram and welcome to yet another video. Today we'll be discussing about the mysticism in the Devi Mahatmya, which actually correlates to the most celebrated festival that is dedicated to the feminine form of divine known as the Devi. So there are various names that is related to Devi Mahatmya. It is most popular in the Nepal region as well as the Bengal region and of course Kamakya, Assam region. And across all over India also in various parts. Of course, now we'll be trying to discuss about the mysticism behind it and how it can actually help in the understanding on the spiritual progression of the individual. So we have to understand that it is said that the Devi Mahatmya actually contains 3 different stories with different forms, and they are being said that these events actually took place in different kalpas. Kalpas basically means different creations. The first part is dedicated to Mahakali, second part is dedicated to Mahalakshmi, and then the third part is dedicated to Mahasaraswati. But you have to understand that here Mahakali does not mean Kali, Mahalakshmi does not mean Lakshmi, and Mahasaraswati basically does not mean Saraswati, because if you look from the perspective that what we are actually looking into is the different forms of the Adi Shakti. So Adi Shakti is equivalent to the Paramashiva or the Sadashiva, which doesn't actually have a form. And when the Paramashiva actually takes different parts similar to that one, Adi Shakti actually takes 3 different attributes known as the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So Mahakali represents the Tamas, Mahalakshmi represents the Rajas, and Mahasaraswati represents the Sattva. So in the first story part, it's the story related with the demons known as the Madhu and Kaitava, which actually born from the earwax from the Lord Vishnu, who is actually sleeping on the cosmic ocean, on the Shesnaga. We'll not go too much deeper into this one because this is about the Devi Mahatmya. So basically what actually happens is when the Madhu Kaitav comes into awareness, they come into awareness, they see that there is a being that is actually sitting on the top of the lotus plant. So they got curious and then they just want to, shake him off from the flower, from the lotus. He's actually the Lord Brahma. So in this context, this actually represents the tamasic nature, actually represents the reptilian brain in our evolution as a human being. So if you look into our brain and everything, the first part is known as the reptilian brain. A reptilian brain is the least evolved part of the brain in our system. So it is very instinctive in nature. It does not have any idea about morality or right or wrong or emotions, attachment or anything. It just walks very instinctively. So here the Madhu and Kaitava, 2 demons, they actually represents the instinctive nature, just like the reptile or the insect or any beings that are very limited in terms of their life experiences. So they, without any reason, they attack Lord Brahma. They want to shake him off, and he asks Vishnu to wake up. Vishnu does not wake up because he is in something known as the Yoga Nidra. And because of that reason, Lord Brahma actually calls the Adi Shakti, and here the Mahakali actually takes the form of the Devi, who is going to finally wake up Yogamaya. Is going to finally wake up Lord Vishnu, and you guys know the story. Lord Vishnu actually vanquishes both of them. So here, this is actually the Madhu and Kaitava actually represents the instinctive nature. And another reason why we actually refer these to the reptilian brain is because Madhu basically literally means the honey, and Kaitava basically means the insect or a bee. So here, the Madhu and Kaitava, the honey and then the insect, the object and the subject, both of them are actually, tied together, and they don't know anything about it. They don't know the reason why they are doing it, and at the same time they will not know the consequences, which is being shown when it is said that when the Lord Vishnu and the Madhu and Kaitava, they fight for thousands of years in the cosmic ocean. Since Madhu and Kaitava are born out of the Vishnu cannot defeat them. So out of ignorance or whatever, or due to the compulsion, because they cannot see into the future, they actually ask Lord Vishnu that we are very much impressed with your bravery, so ask what you want. Without any hesitation, you have to ask. We can give anything. So that is when Lord Vishnu actually asks them to be killed by him. So this is the nature of the Madhu and Kaitava, or the reptilian brain. It does not know what it is getting into it. It is very instinctive in nature. So this is the first part of the story about the Mahakali aspect of the Devi Mahatmya. This is very, very primitive kind of brain, which actually has got very large part in our brain. The next part of the evolution part of the brain is known as the mammalian brain. And in the Devi Mahatmya, this story is represented by a pair of demons known as the Mahishasura and Raktabija. So in the story, Raktabija and Mahishasura, they actually represent the animal nature. So this is a little bit more complex than the instinctive nature, and it becomes a little bit more subtle than the previous instinctive nature of our brain. So in this story, when Kali and Chamunda, as well as Durga, or in many versions there's the Ambika also. So when they go to fight Raktabija, let's go into the Raktabija first. It is said that every time the Raktabija has been cut off into pieces, every drop of the blood that falls into the ground actually becomes more Raktabija will be produced from there. For example, if 10 drops falls into the ground, 10 more Raktabijas, 100 more drops, 100 more Raktabijas. So this is the problem with the mammalian brain, because mammalian brain is associated with our desires to propagate, to connect and everything, but at the same time it does not actually know how to stop. It just knows multiplication. It just wants to continue as much as possible. Because of that reason, any kind of desire that we want to control, it just multiplies. There's no end to it. For example, let's say some people wants to stop doing certain things they have been doing so far. After a while, it is just going to bother them more. Just like Sadhguru says that in the mind, there is no subtraction or a division, there is only addition and multiplication. And he also gives a simple example that if you are asked not to think about the monkeys, you'll only think about the monkeys. So the same thing applies with the Mysticism also. Mysticism actually represents the animal nature. Of course, buffalo is also a mammal. It is more complex. The process in the system is more complex than the insect. They have the emotion, they have drive, they have strength. They know how to live in a community, but at the same time, it's more about only the body. The body is everything. Because of that reason, when Mysticism is being like attacked by the Devi, and then like a Devi, first of all, takes the head off of the buffalo form of Mysticism. He actually takes the form of different animals. Sometimes it takes the form of the elephant, sometimes it takes the form of horse, sometimes it takes the form of lion, and sometimes it takes the form of a beautiful human being. So eventually he takes the form of the buffalo again, and then the Devi is going to vanquish him. So these two stories of the Raktavija and then the Mysticism represents our desires. These are more subtle than just like eating, sleeping, and reproducing, just like the instinctive nature. The more you want to control the desire, it multiplies. The more you want to suppress the desire takes another form. For example, you want to stop using mobile phone, you start reading something. Similar kind of thing, but it completely, the desire just changes. You stop shopping something, you want to collect photos or something like that. So the desire can take different forms. So the second part of the story, in which the Devi is going to kill Mysticism, is represented by the Rajas. This is the second phase of the Mahalakshmi. So this is the reason I was also a little bit confused before that, how come Mahalakshmi can actually kill Mysticism and then fight with different forms, and why she's being shown with different weapons? Because we know that Lakshmi as well as the Saraswati, they are known as the non-warrior goddesses. So Mahalakshmi and Ma Saraswati, they are not actually represent the Lakshmi and then the Saraswati in the conventional terms, as most of us know. Now comes the final phase, which is even more subtler now. If you know from modern science that if you look into the part of the brain, the majority of the big part of the brain is actually the reptilian brain, just like Sadhguru says that it's the size of the fist, which is actually controlling a lot of our unconscious and compulsive actions. The second part on the top of that, the second layer, is the mammalian brain, which actually helps us with emotions, thought processes, connecting a lot of complex kind of things, but it's still not much under our control. But what actually makes us the human is basically the thin layer on the top of the mammalian brain, which is known as the neocortex. So neocortex is the one that actually makes us human, because it gives us the ability to access our memories in a very vivid way, and at the same time helps us to project the future, so that we can see what can happen and what are the possibilities and what are the limitations, and take the action by ourselves. But even though these possibilities is there, but why most of us are not actually taking charge of it, or is because still the mammalian brain and reptilian brain is controlling most of our activities. So that is why practices like Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya or a different kind of sadhanas are actually used to make you more aware and aware, so that you can become aware of those compulsive patterns and become free out of them. Here the demons are more subtle. Here there are two pairs of the demons. The first pair of the demons is known as the Chanda and Munda, and then the second phase is known as the Shumba and Nishumba. So Chanda and Munda represents the strong likes and dislikes within us, and here they are attracted towards the Devi, and then they want her to become the queen of the demons. And now what the Devi says is, like, anybody who can come and win her in a battle, she's going to become their wife. So first of all, like, Chanda and Munda are killed by the Devi. So the Shumba and Nishumba represents the reflected light, which basically means it's the misunderstanding of the reality itself. For example, like, we believe that this face is me, this body is me, whatever I think, whatever my emotions, relations, and everything, they all belong to me. So this clothes belong to me, everything belongs to me. So Shumba represents the me, while Nishumba represents the mind. So the false understanding of me and mine are represented by Shumba and Nishumba. So if we look very carefully, that just like Sadhguru says, the entire suffering or getting trapped is basically misunderstanding who we are. So when we misunderstand ourselves, we developed likes and dislikes based on that. And the likes and dislikes are going to develop desires based on those likes and dislikes. And with these desires comes out our compulsive actions. So basically, like, Shumba and Nishumba leads to Chanda and Munda. Chanda and Munda leads to Raktavija and Mysticism. And Mysticism and Raktavija leads to Madhu and Kaitava. So basically, although we have been given the possibilities to go beyond all this, we can still get trapped. That is the reason, like, the grace of the Guru and the analysis or the esoteric information that is embedded in the stories like Devi Mahatmya are very important. The most compulsive one is the instinctive nature, which is the reptilian brain. On the top of that is the mammalian brain, which actually makes us feel emotions and everything. But at the same time, it will still trap us. It is the neocortex. And to make use of the neocortex, we have to become more and more aware. And eventually, like, we also have to overcome that one and go beyond that one. Going beyond all sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic aspects of ourselves that makes us human. So in context, the instinctive nature of us that is trapping us is very gross. It's very evident to see, while the desires are more subtle and takes a lot of attention to see. And finally, to know that what we are and what we are not needs the grace of the Guru or the divine. Without that, it's not possible for most of us. Namaskar.